chop all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night
vVv Gaming. Starting every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. going till 9. It's going to be a best of 7 clan war between 4 players of vVv and 4 players of another visiting clan, and Shadow spawning as the red Protoss, able to take that first game off vVv time, and he will be going against the purple Terran here, spawning in the northern position, vVv Murder.
Now, what can you tell us about these close positionings here on Shadow Temple? A dropship play very prominent coming in from Murder, but what can a Protoss do to try to use and abuse these particular spawning locations?
Well, we don't really see it used all that often, especially without the upgrade. They can be very weak, but Warp Prism play, we see White Ra use it quite a bit to harass mineral lines. You use that Warp Prism to get that energy. You warp in about 4 Zealots, and you can do that on your side of the map here, on your side of this, the chasm, and then you can drop those Zealots in the mineral line. Especially with upgrades, they can last quite a while and take down those SCVs. Now, the difficulty with that is Warp Prisms are very slow without the upgrade, and then they're also quite weak, and Marines can focus them down with stim very quickly. So I think this positions here by Shadow puts him at a slight disadvantage if Murder does decide to go for some sort of airplay. And I'll be interested to see if Murder tries to do that or just take map control, try to expand and push out the big bioforce.
Yeah, but we already see Shadow now coming in, getting some early harassment onto an SCV there. It looks like Shadow going to be the good Protoss player, just wandering around, getting some damage, and just letting those shields recharge rather slowly. Murder not doing anything too out of the ordinary. The standard 13 refinery. Meanwhile, we are getting an assimilator over there by Shadow as well. So Shadow doing a pretty standard build, and we'll see what these players try to open for. I could imagine a Reaper expand here, as Reapers are able to get a lot of map control early on in the game, and making sure that the Stalkers are unable to put any pressure, and then allowing the Terran player to set up bunkers and Marines at the natural expansion.
Yeah, I definitely expect a Reaper after this first Marine from Murder here. And as you mentioned, I like the harassment from Shadow. When you send that 9 pylon scout out, and it looks like he's got an SCV down to 1 hit, and he's going to take down an SCV, which is pretty huge. When you send out that probe, it's almost worthless in the opponent's base up until a certain point when the build order does reveal itself a little bit. So you want to do as much as you can with that probe, and able to take down an SCV, basically even the score, as that probe was not mining and now the SCV is no longer mining. It looks like Murder is going to be scouting his opponent first here as well. He's going to see 2 gas very early for the Protoss, even before the Cybernetics Core finishes. So we might see quite a bit of tech from Shadow.
Yeah, at this point, a lot of Protoss players can either go into double sentries for fast expansions, or what may happen on this map is Stargate with a lot of Void Ray and Phoenix harassment just to lay it down. I don't expect Phoenix harassment though, as that's more of a style against Zerg in general, as Murder not going for that early Reaper but going for a reactor instead. So this is a bit of a surprise, as we now see a lot of gas sitting up on Murder. What do you think Murder's trying to go for?
Well, it looks like he's bunkering up here, so he wants to be safe against any sort of early aggression, and now getting it out of command center, so going for a 1 Rex command center. And so far, Shadow hasn't given away his build. He's gotten out that initial Stalker, and I like that choice, especially if he knows Murder's playstyle. He knows that there may be a Reaper coming out, and doing a very nice job scouting, making sure there are no proxy racks or anything shady going on in the center of the map, and maybe trying to poke up here and see what Murder's done for a wall-off, whether he's put down another barracks there, or whether he has that bunker. And now he's bringing in a probe here as well. Not really sure what he's going to be doing. And we'll see that bunker with the 4 Marines there, and the Marines will be able to pick off that probe, so getting a revenge for the probe taking down one of their SCV brethren early on.
Yeah, so based upon what's happening inside from Shadow's base, it looks like he's going to be trying to get a lot of sentries, trying to use Guardian shields, and then also with a robotics facility, maybe trying to go for Immortal. So this is going to be a 3-gate with a robotics facility. The Immortal is more for a bunker buster, trying to put it in the front with that Guardian shield, able to absorb a lot of damage, especially if there's Marauders in there as well, trying to reduce that damage even further. And I think we're going to see a very aggressive play by Shadow once more. I don't think we're going to see an expansion, and we'll see how this works out for him.
Yeah, we just see Murder getting the orbital command, so we will have double mules coming out, and if he tries to land in his natural there, you're right, Shadow could go for some aggression. He's going to have a lot of saved up energy on these sentries, so he's going to be able to get down force fields, preventing SCVs from repairing any bunkers which are thrown down for extra defense. And Murder just focusing on, it looks like Bio at this point, he's added a second and third racks, now adding a factory, I imagine by its positioning, maybe using it just to float into the Protoss player's base and just using it to transition to medevacs. He's only got one gas at the moment, so don't think he will be going for any sort of siege tech or anything. He is getting stim just started here, and he's also getting combat shields as well.
Yeah, as we look into the base as well, we see that Shadow is in fact going for a Nexus at the natural expansion, so he should be able to start mining in there in about 60 seconds or so. And so it may be more of a keep on his force coming in from Shadow. Shadow just making sure that he puts a little bit of pressure or acting as a little bit of base defense there as an observer, just wandering around. Two observers looking across the map, and he will be able to see an expansion landing in just a moment.
Yeah, Shadow doing a nice job. He's got a very active probe here, so he's got scouting on all the different starting areas, so he's making sure that no secret expansion went up. He just basically touched every single mineral patch on the map with probes and observers, so he's being very, very careful. He will see with this observer that the second orbital command has landed, and there are quite a few Marines, a few bunkers going down as well, a transfer of SCVs coming over. Now it looks like Shadow may be pushing for some sort of aggression. He has finished that the robotic bay, so he will be able to get Colossus out any moment now. Pretty even food count, 57 to 56. If we check the income tab, it is 31 to 30, and both players do have their expansion up and running.
Yeah, as we're going to see, is salvaging on the bunker. Stalkers now trying to make their way in. Marines coming in, but a quick force field stopping many of those Marines, and also that Guardian Shield doing a great job preventing the damage, much of that damage from coming in. And here we go. We are going to have Stalkers with sentries and a lot of Guardian Shields and a lot of force fields, and this may be trouble.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try to angle here away from the one bunker and trying to pick a spot, getting down a few of those force fields, making sure that the Marines in the back are not able to fire. And now he's going to try to just micro best he can. The low Stalker's doing a very nice job keeping the red and orange Stalkers in the back, using that Guardian Shield to really limit the amount of damage that Murder's able to do to him. And I like this position, putting a lot of pressure on Murder at the moment.
Yeah, I think we're going to see even more Marine production. SCVs coming over to once again repair, but there's only 11 Marines now in between those bunkers. And
dropping the Protoss main.
Oh, and we have a drop in the Protoss main over here. We have just 8 Marines already stimming in, but they're not going after the probes just quite yet. Probes finally getting the memo, trying to escape, and there we go. 2 to 3 probes have been taken down. The 2 Stalkers don't want to try to engage, as there's too many Marines for those simple 2 Stalkers there. And now the Marines once again coming back in, stimming, perhaps going after that key tech, but I don't think it's going to really be able to take it down as the rest of the army now comes in.
Yeah, if anything, he stopped mining time, and he kept Shadow honest. Shadow was going to be able to basically put a lock on that front door of Murder, tape map control, and make sure the Murderer was feeling very, very vulnerable there. But with that drop, Murder's basically flipped the script on him, and now Shadow knows that drops are available. He knows that he put that robotics bay very close to Murder, actually, and if he doesn't keep some army at home, he's not going to be able to defend. See, he's got his whole army in his main now, so Murder pushing out in the center of the field, and I really like this. He's got a few Vikings as well, so as the first Colossus does come out for Shadow, and it's a very late Colossus, the Vikings are already on the field, as Shadow does have perfect map control vision-wise. He's moving that probe off of this watchtower and queuing it up so it moves right back, but we will see Murder try to push in here. He's got Stim, Marines, a few Vikings, and a medevac.
He also has a level 1 upgrade, and now a scout sweep coming in, force fields being placed down, and the Marines unable to act like a good ball, and those force fields are just clutch, preventing many of the Marines from being able to get any serious damage at all, and Shadow just returning that force. But it looks like another drop happening in the main base as well. Marines clearing up and going to be taking down that robotics bay in just a moment. One Colossus is out, but it's not going to be able to really get that much damage as the medevac, leaving a couple of his Marines behind there to die.
Yeah, but I think he'll take that trade any day. That's going to stop the Colossi production, and he's already got a few Vikings out, which did not go down in that encounter. So he's ahead in the Colossi versus Viking sort of meta battle there that we see in games. and now the robotics bay going up once more. I imagine he's putting in a bit more of a safe spot this time. We see it tucked behind a gateway in his forge. And we have level 1 weapons finishing for Shadow at the moment. He does not have that all-important armor against the Bioforce. And you are right, Murder does have the 1 upgrade for his bio at the moment. And it looks like he'll be transitioning, getting up an armory, so he will want to continue the upgrades, getting a second engineering bay as well. So it looks like, as predicted, he will be focusing on bio. If we check the worker count, it is 51 to 50, and it is 104 to 100 overall, so both players still very even.
Yeah, as we also look at this game, Shadow currently taking on Destructible Rocks, looking to perhaps expand into another location, but another drop happening here, more of a skeleton drop with only 3 Marines. Those Marines are going to get taken down rather quickly, and the Zealots and the Stalkers are just going to be left behind to try to make sure that another drop doesn't come into play.
You know, I'd really like to see some two-prong attacks coming from Murder at this point, a drop into the main, pulling some of the Protoss units back into the main, and then just pushing with some stim and try to take down the few units left in the natural. But the thing preventing that is that Shadow has these observers so well spread throughout the map. He's got great vision of the army of Murder. He's not going to be able to move out without Shadow knowing exactly what's going on. But Murder has been able to get up a 3rd expansion. We see that Shadow prepared to his own 3rd expansion, taking down those rocks to the southern part of his natural. But he's going to be behind on expanding, and because of the positioning here on Murder's 3rd expansion, he was able to take another orbital command, be a very greedy Terran, does not have to go for the planetary fortress, so he's going to have 3 times mules going, and the income count, it is about 2,000 minerals per minute to 1,500, so he could rocket ahead supply-wise.
Yeah, on top of that, we also see the Ghost Academy now coming online. In addition to the Mobius reactor, we are also getting the ship level 1 upgrades and the level 2 weapons upgrade on the infantry weapons. So it's going to be a lot of upgraded units in just a moment, and those Vikings are going to be hungry for, I guess, Colossus oil in this battle, and those Ghosts are going to be critical, as well as those sentries have really been holding off this Bioforce.
Yeah, we have 1-1 upgrades for Shadow of the Moon, but just 1 Colossus, so the Vikings are going to be able to take that down very quickly. 7 Vikings on the field, so if Shadow doesn't do a perfect job with this force fields once again, I have a feeling that Murder is going to be able to get the better of any encounter here. Looks like he will be pulling back at the moment, and Shadow has an observer just mirroring the movements of Murder at this point. He's getting up his own 3rd, but he'll be a little bit behind in the economy. It is 160 to 139. And it looks like Murder's going to wait for a Ghost and an EMP or 2 before he does move out. He's preparing, taking down the Destructible Rocks by that gold, so that's where to place his planetary fortress. And now it looks like Shadow trying to push out, take down the Marine at the watchtower, and just pulling back, being very defensive.
Yeah, we also see that the rocks have been cleared out by Shadow as well, so Shadow going to be expanding to some gold minerals. And at this stage in the game, I'm still surprised that Murder hasn't tried to hunt and clean up many of these observers, or Shadow hasn't also tried to abuse the fact that there's not that much detection. Being able to keep track of your opponent's army at all times, a very, very strong benefit. Just being able to see what they're doing and know how to respond and react accordingly.
Yeah, I think Shadow played this great. He knew that with those drops he had to play defensively, and so he's really just been sitting back, and actually he did catch up there in the economy and the count, food count, 156 to about 160, because Murder did supply block himself. So Shadow's just letting Murder make a few mistakes here, but now Murder does have these ghosts out, so we will have EMP, and I imagine we'll see him push out at some point. Might be waiting for the infantry armor level 2 to finish. He's got about 30 more game seconds. He's going to have ship weapon level 2 and infantry weapon level 3 on the way as well.
Yeah, so this is going to definitely be, still have a very, very bloody battle, but both sides, as soon as they get to 200 food count, it really starts to favor the Protoss player more, as the Protoss is able to replenish that army off of gateways much more quickly than Marines and Marauders are able to come out of those barracks. So Murder has to be very careful. He has to hit when he exactly has 200 food, like right now, and then make sure that his opponent does not is not able to use those warp gates to their full advantage.
Yeah, it looks like he's pushing here, stimming up and trying to focus down units, but Shadow playing very defensively, once again pulling back these Colossi taken out of Murder's army, but Shadow, all of these Colossi are going down to the high Viking count. Shadow doesn't know whether to focus down the Vikings as they do land. A lot of Marauders and Marines still coming in here, and Shadow being forced to pull probes to help out with the Stalkers here. A scan coming from Murdered, making sure there are no DTs present, and now we will be focusing down the Templar archives as the Templar are moving in here, and they're only having enough energy to get feedbacks off on those medevacs before trying to be formed into Archons, but they are quickly focused down. Shadow going to lose his natural here, going to lose a ton of probes and his whole army.
Yeah, this is just really well played by Murder. Murder timing this absolutely perfectly right when he had 200 food.